Okay, this is my Pear Deck presentation, and what you're seeing on the screen is you see the teacher split screen. The part you see on the right is what the students see on their device, and it's also what the class would see up in front. So as a teacher, I can see everything on the left. That's both like the student access and student response, and again, the students will only see what's on the right. So this is on biofuel sustainability for sustainability and global change. First, what is biofuel? Biofuel is a fuel made from living materials, specifically that's used for transportation. And the purpose of this is to find substitutes for petroleum-based products. So first question for the students, on the right side you can see first question is an idea of what can you use to produce biofuels. So this is what the students have, and you can see their responses come in as they respond. So on the left side I can see who has responded, that 2 students need to respond yet. Still waiting for 1 student to respond. Okay, so now you see other responses. Then I can even, so a student doesn't change their mind and change their answer, I can lock their answers, where you just saw me lock it down below. So the answer for this one actually is all the above were correct, and all of those can be used for biofuels. So biofuel is something that's made from all living things. Examples, especially in the U.S., is ethanol. And the ethanol is made from fermentation of corn. Other parts of the world, sorghum and sugarcane are popular for biofuels. And the most common thing people know about biofuels is the 10% ethanol in the gas tanks. Another common and popular biofuel is biodiesels, especially more in Europe. And biodiesels can be made from items like soybeans, palm oils, canola seeds, and sometimes even some things can be retrofitted, and you can use waste fats. A third type of biofuel that's more in the experimental stage is something called cellulosic ethanol. And the benefit of this is that you don't actually use the food crop, but you use the corn stalks or the waste product or possibly a grass that's being used. So this part of biofuel is still in more of the research. It's just being used. It's just now beginning to be used more in the commercial scale. They're building the first plants where they can go through and do that. So now I have another question for the students. So right now it's what do you think of biofuels so far? And here you can see what they're able to do, and one student is playing, and I can see which student it is moving their answers back and forth. So as soon as I get all responses, again, what I'll do is freeze their answers so they can't change their mind. So right now I've got 4 answers all on the positive side for biofuels. Okay, now more specifically now I'm going to ask them, this is a free response question, about what they think some positives of biofuels may be. So in a whole classroom, these will all show up in the right screen as they respond. And a nice thing about this program too is you could even have them type in numbers. You can choose a short amount that they can write. You can choose a long amount that they can write. Okay, so we have all students responding now, so you can see the 4 different responses. Okay, so here's some things that are good about biofuels. They are a renewable resource. Especially in our area, they give farmers a good cash crop and can be grown locally. It's a good job maker. You can see in 2012 it produced 383,000 jobs in the U.S. Another positive of biofuels is they burn much cleaner than fossil fuels, with less CO2 emissions and, of course, less greenhouse gases too compared to gasoline and other fossil fuels. Regarding sustainability and biodiversity, biofuels can also be made from a variety of crops, so you don't need to worry about lack of crop rotations and losing some diversity in environments due to all one cash crop. Okay, so those are the positives. Now we're ready for some negatives. So we're ready for students to respond to if they feel there are any negatives to biofuels. Now, I'm allowing all the responses to come up immediately. What I can do as a teacher is I can actually hide the responses and keep the question up until I see that everyone's responded, so they can't look at other people's responses. So this time what I'll do is I'll wait till I see that everyone's responded, even if it says I can't think of anything. Ooh, and a nice response by the high school student. So there you can see our 4 different responses from our students. Okay, so here are some of the negatives of biofuels. Again, while it sounds really good, there definitely are some negative sides. One downside is that because the ethanol is grown, it's very labor intensive, very energy intensive, and there's different information you find about this. Some sources say that equal amounts of fossil fuel are used to produce the same amount of ethanol that the ethanol would produce. The EPA actually says that ethanol does give 2.3 times as much energy as was used to produce it. Something else that will be coming up in future years with global climate change, the grain that's used to produce ethanol to power an SUV for 1 year could also feed a person for 1 year. So as climate changes with global warming and the food crisis may become a concern about whether the crop is used for food or for fuel. A third aspect then, when you use crops for fuel, that means you have to have another place to grow crops for food, and this can have a worldwide impact even as you push from a crop in Illinois, can affect a crop in Brazil, and eventually that can lead to more deforestation in other parts of the world. So what you see in this picture is the further deforestation of the rainforest in Brazil. Here's an example in Indonesia. They are clearing forest right now for palm oils, for biodiesel. So this one's going to be a multiple choice question. If a farmer in Illinois decides to grow more corn for ethanol, how do you think this could affect a Brazilian rancher? So what the students are seeing right now, they're seeing multiple choice questions. So here's what they see. Okay, so now you can see, oh, somebody changed their answer. I didn't lock it. Oh, they changed it. Okay, so I've locked responses so students can't keep switching their answer. So the answer would be C, he takes more pasture land from the rainforest. So here that are some crop choices that can affect other locations. So here would be the sequence of how that happens. An Illinois farmer grows more corn, thus less soybeans. So the farmer in Brazil needs to grow more soybeans, therefore he needs more land. So Brazil converts more pasture land to cropland, which means they need more land in general, and that's taken from the rainforest. So biofuels do have both pros and cons. So right now, before we close here, we're going to see this is a free response. If people can name 2 countries that they think are very common users of biofuels. And again, for students, this is a free response. They need to come up with this one just on their own. So each one's responded, the US, Canada, Brazil, all really good choices. Here's a list of the top 5 that I've pulled off a top 5 list on the website. US, Brazil, France, Germany, China. There is a little bit of difference about the top biofuel used. US and Brazil and China tend to be more ethanol users and producers, and Europe tends to be more with biodiesel. So now that we've seen both pros and cons of biofuels, at this point then, would you be in favor to continue growth and research of biofuels? We have one student waffling.
It's a spectrum.
Okay, so I locked the answers so we can see 3 on the positive side and 1 on the negative side. So kind of in closing, I didn't talk about the third type of biofuel, which is more the future of biofuel, which can help eliminate some of the controversy. The third type is cellulosic ethanol that actually, instead of using the actual grain, it uses the waste, such as corn stalks, bean stalks. So it uses crops that are not used for food. So the picture here is of miscanthus. This is not a picture from U of I, but this is one of the options they're working at the U of I research farm. And in closing, with both pros and cons to biofuels, they still can be an important part to the answer of both renewable and alternative energy. Thank you.